If the Israelis would only help feed and provide more fuel and water to these poor Palestinians while their terrorist leaders are making billions and living lives of luxury in Qatar and Turkey and anywhere else in the world they want to live, if the Israelis would only surrender their sovereignty and their security to their enemy, our enemy, that hits us too, and is right now, well, then we'd have peace in our time. Let's look at ILTV News. IDF exposes Iran Hamas connection. And remember, early on in this war, the Biden administration went to great lengths, Blinken and the other reprobates, to deny a connection between Iran and what took place on October 7th. Everybody's saying, are you out of your mind? You're giving them money, you're doing this, and the reason is because they're continuing with their Iran policy. And the Iran policy is to keep giving billions and billions directly and indirectly to Iran that funds terrorists, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, directly and indirectly, and we directly fund the PLO in Judea and Samaria, which is committing acts of terrorism. And we fund Hamas through UNRWA, the UN, which of course are subhuman monsters, these terrorists. And by funding Iran directly and indirectly, that is taking our foot off their throats economically, which Trump had put down on their throats, they are funding Hezbollah. And so if Israel would only stop fighting the people that attacked them and slaughtered and raped and marauded through their communities, and if Israel would only give 30% of its landmass, its ancestral territories, to the Palestinians who have no claim to it whatsoever, if the Israelis would only help feed and provide more fuel and water to these poor Palestinians while their terrorist leaders are making billions and living lives of luxury in Qatar and Turkey and anywhere else in the world they want to live, if the Israelis would only surrender their sovereignty and their security to their enemy, our enemy, that hits us too, and is right now, well, then we'd have peace in our time. I've said it before, and it cannot be said enough. Joe Biden is the only president who is so insane, who has so much contempt for his own country, that doesn't merely appease our enemy in Iran, as Chamberlain did the Third Reich. He's funding them. He's rearming them. And so he has open arms for the enemy. He won't even defend American troops effectively. Oh, every now and then the helicopters will take out some boats or will shoot a missile into this country or that country. But that's pinprick stuff. He won't even defend American heroes who leave their families, leave their homes to serve their country and are under attack. And he refuses to speak about the Americans still in Afghanistan. This man is contemptible. In fact, I would argue he's a lunatic. And the fact is that when he runs around and screams like a mental patient in a padded room, going on and on about democracy, it's pretty strange coming out of his mouth, when in fact he's done more damage to democracy, that is constitutional republicanism, than any president in modern history, certainly in my lifetime, certainly in my recollection. ILTV News, IDF exposes Iran-Hamas connection. Go.
Israel has long maintained that Iran was involved in the October 7th terrorist attack, as well as in funding and supplying Hamas and, of course, Hezbollah's terror activities.
No. Biden says no. So you see, Hamas has all this industrial capacity all on its own to build missiles, to build all kinds of armaments, and it does it just with the terrorists. The people are not involved per se, the civilian. It just happens. They just do it on their own, you see. Now, how insane is that? Go ahead.
And now the IDF has said it has found proof of an underground missile factory linking Iran directly to Hamas. Let's take a look. The IDF cleared for publication on Sunday that its Nahal brigade recently uncovered a precision-guided missile factory in an underground terror tunnel in the Darash Tufah neighborhood in northern Gaza. The underground factory, located in a 100-meter-long tunnel...
Stop. Now look at this. This is all underground. This is the greatest underground infrastructure project on the face of the earth. On the face of the earth. And you and I are supposed to believe that the Palestinian citizens, the moderate, innocent, Jew-loving, American-loving Palestinians that occupy Gaza, had nothing to do with this. They didn't know about it. It's taken place all throughout the Gaza Strip. You know, when the Gaza Strip was handed to the Palestinians a mere 19 years ago, there was none of this. There were no tunnels. Zero. Now there's a very complex tunnel system. Not just a tunnel system. There's housing in there. There's air conditioning. There's a guided missile factory in there. All kinds of stuff. This is where your money and the cement and the fuel, this is where it's all gone. To build this underground terror empire. Empire. And Joe Biden says, hey, look, when this is all over, you need to let the Gazans rule Gaza. Oh, okay. And the Israelis forevermore will have to deal with this. Would we tolerate that? The answer is no. We didn't tolerate it after World War II. We obliterated these societies, and we not only rebuilt them, we had re-education. We had the denazification of Germany. We spent years re-educating the Japanese, who had embraced the emperor as a god himself. Not so much with the Italians, but nonetheless, all these things had to take place. We had to occupy these parts of areas that we had to conquer with the flesh and blood of our soldiers and other soldiers before we would release them. We wrote the Japanese Constitution. We wrote the German Constitution. We had a huge impact. We didn't just say, and let's have a ceasefire, and you need to get the hell out of there, and turn the lands back to... No. It was much more complicated than that. In fact, after the Civil War, we didn't just say, okay, you southern states are free. There was military occupation of a number of southern states well after the Civil War, until at least the hope was and the effort was they could break the back of a part of the mentality of a slave state, or particularly of the ruling class in these various states and so forth and so on. So if they wouldn't basically surrender and surrender without conditions and allow the quote-unquote re-education and reculturalization of certain communities, the military wasn't going to leave. And so this is what we do. We do it to our own people in our own country. We did it after World War II. And now we're telling the Israelis, who are surrounded by enemies, tiny little country with a small population, no, you got to give it back. No, we don't care about this re-education stuff. We don't care about this denazification stuff, that these kids are taught at a young age how to become terrorists. So when they're young men, they actually execute what they're being educated and brainwashed about. No, there's not even a thought about that. Go ahead.
A 100-meter-long tunnel was being used to improve Hamas's rockets and build precision components. The facility was heavily guarded, and the IDF said that during the raid, soldiers eliminated many terrorists in short-range battles. In addition to the factory, soldiers found vests, weapons parts, explosives, and even an UNRWA membership card.
Got that? UNRWA. That's the UN refugee organization. They found a card. And you want to know why? Because they're finding more and more of these people who work for the UN also work for Hamas. And they're interchangeable. I mean, what's going on here is absolutely unbelievable. Go ahead.
After finding the factory as part of the IDF's intelligence efforts, it said that components were found that prove that Hamas terrorists learned under Iranian guidance how to create and build such precision components and strategic weapons, and gained technological knowledge in the field.
So why does our administration keep denying the connection? Because they are ideologically committed to breathing life into the Iranian regime, as if that will enable Iran to act like a normal country under normal leaders in the community, the international community. Well, this is a pipe dream, and it's worse than that. This is suicidal.
Want to see more? Sign up for Levin TV.